Hi, my name is Brandon, and this is Nate, and we're from YDOP, an internet marketing company based in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And today we're here to talk to you about digital advertising for local businesses. So Nate, if I'm a local business owner and I have, limited funds to spend on all my different advertising platforms, how can I compete against national brands with seemingly unlimited budgets?
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of research all the time into national brands, what they're spending. We even work with some educational institutions, and even their competitors, large educational institutions, are spending, I'm not kidding, millions of dollars a month on online advertising. So how do you compete in that market? 10 years ago, it was really hard because really Google determined who showed up at the top based off of who wanted to pay the most. So if you were the business that paid the most amount of money, the highest cost per click, you showed up at the top. But they really changed that around to say whoever has the best ad and the best website and the best quality advertising is who we're going to show the ad. So you could be the Walmart, the Target, or you could be the mom and pop local business, and you have the opportunity to rank above them because your ad is better than theirs. So it really comes down to really making sure that you're advertising, the messaging that you're using is good for the user, because the more clicks you get, Google sees that that's a good advertisement and they're going to rank you higher. When it comes to the actual budgets that you have, the different platforms that we use in the digital sphere, paid search on Google, Bing, Facebook, Instagram, all of those advertising platforms don't cost that much. We're talking on average about $2 to $3 a click on Google. In the display sphere, we're probably talking about $1 per click. So from the brand awareness, it's obviously a lot cheaper, but even down to the conversion and remarketing side of things, it's pretty inexpensive. So for $2 to $3 to even $500 a month, you could be on multiple platforms advertising your business on a regular basis.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you have to also maybe set realistic expectations? Sure. Either define geography or define, what type of ads you're running, because you don't have the budget to compete with Amazon or Walmart.
Absolutely, yeah. So if you're expecting to have 100 conversions on your website with a $200 budget, it's probably not going to happen. So it really comes down to doing keyword research. If you're a law firm where cost per clicks are $50, $60, $70 a click, and you're expecting 10 conversions on a $50 to $100 budget, it's just not realistic. So yes, there's a lot of research that goes into how much should you be spending for the conversions that you really want to generate. Yeah.
It probably just is based on math to set the right expectation that if you want X number of conversions, how does that work its way out to your actual ad spend?
Yeah, and it's funny because a lot of business owners don't actually know this. And this is probably one thing where if you can take anything away from this, the advice would be figure out how much you're willing to spend for somebody to become a client of yours. Okay. And if you can figure out that number, I'm willing to spend $140 for somebody to become a client on marketing costs. That really helps an agency determine how many clicks they need to get to the website to give you a good conversion rate and how much actual budget we need to spend to get those numbers to work out. So if you're willing to spend $140 per conversion, per lead on your website, then your budget's going to need to be probably, let's just say 10 times larger, because we're not going to convert every single user. So if your cost per conversion is $140, you're going to need more than $140 per month as a budget, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So Nate, is there a formula or a way to figure out how much a business should spend on digital advertising?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's probably the number one question we get as an agency. How much should I spend? Yeah, I want to advertise, but I have no idea how much to spend in the digital world. And really that comes down to a lot of research on our end, trying to figure out what platform would work best for you, but then really trying to figure out what your goals are as a business. Is your goal to, kind of like we said before, is your goal to gain 10 new leads, or is your goal to simply just get your brand out in a new area? From the brand awareness perspective, it could be anything. You could really spend as much as you've wanted to, because we have so many platforms that we could use. But if it really comes down to, I am just looking to get 5 new leads per month, then that really helps us understand what budget to allocate to get those leads that you're looking for.
And if you have that number of what does it cost per lead, or how much is a customer worth to me, then that helps us figure out that as well.
Exactly. So if your cost per lead is $100 and you want 5 new leads, your budget better be $500 or more, or the expectations just won't match up.
All right, so say in a very, very hypothetical situation, I am a local small business and I have an unlimited budget for my digital marketing. What would be some of your recommendations on a good digital marketing mix to spend that budget?
Great question. There are so many platforms out there. You have Facebook and Google, which are your 2 main dominant powers in the advertising sphere. But then you have so many others, including Instagram, Spotify, LinkedIn. There's so many platforms out there that it really just depends on your goals, like I said earlier. If you email me at nate@ydop.com, I can give you a PDF that we just created that are kind of my top platforms that I really like to use and different types of ads that we like to run on. So if you have an unlimited budget, I would suggest trying all of those out, but then really trying to figure out, once you're running ad dollars on those platforms over 2-3 months, trying to figure out which ones of those are generating the most conversions and starting to push more of your budget to those platforms that are working. And really, the platform depends on the industry. So I can say the lawn care industry works great on Google, but in a different industry, Google might not be the best answer. If you're B2B, LinkedIn is probably a really good platform for you to at least try out because you're in that business to business mindset. So it really depends on the industry as well, where we would put that unlimited budget that you're talking about.
That's really helpful. And it probably also depends on what goals you have within your sales funnel. So a different platform might work really well for brand awareness, but for conversion, it's not as helpful.
Yeah, I always like to say we can always hit every area of the marketing funnel when it comes to digital advertising. We can hit the brand awareness funnel with many different platforms, but we can also hit the I'm ready to buy funnel with many different platforms. So depending on your goals, depending on your budget, depending on what level of the funnel you're trying to hit would really depend on where we're putting your ad dollars.
Yeah, so make sure you email nate@ydop.com and he'll send you a document that lists out all these different ad platforms that you can use online. I bet you a few of them you have not heard of, and we can maybe even talk about what makes sense for you based on your budget and based on your goals.
And there's descriptions, there's pictures of what they look like, but then there's also pros and cons. So why would a single image ad on Facebook be beneficial for your business, and then what are some drawbacks for maybe why you wouldn't want to use that specific ad? So it's not just the platform, but it's the actual ads inside of those platforms as well.
That's really helpful. So we've been talking about finding the right platform or platforms to fit within your marketing budget as well as your marketing goals. Can you speak a little bit about the different targeting options that all these different platforms allow?
Yeah, absolutely. I think even before that, the first step is trying to figure out who your audience is. And you as the business owner might think completely differently than what the actual data shows. So I always like to hear from the business owner, who do you think that your target customer is? Well, I think it's a 40 to 65-year-old female who's in the top 20% income bracket and they live in this general area. Okay, so that's the target demographic from the business owner. But then I also like to take a deep dive into analytics as well and tell me and show what does the data show me. And so I'll go into analytics and I'll look at the age of most people that are visiting the website, the demographics, where they're coming from, who's converting the most. Because you may have an older generation that's visiting your website the most, but the younger generation is actually the ones that are purchasing or converting on your website. So I always like to look at the data too, and then kind of put them together and say, here is what I believe the target audience is. And there's a lot of really cool tools inside of analytics that show you the age of your customers and the purchasing decisions of different locations. And there's a lot of audience demographics inside of there that I would strongly suggest a business owner look at.
That also brings up a good point that it's really important for you to set up different conversion tracking and metrics within analytics. Can you talk about some of that?
Yeah, pretty much anything that happens on your website, you're able to track inside of analytics. So somebody that submits a form, submits their email, clicks on a phone number button, all of that should be tracked, because then when you actually start putting these advertising dollars to different platforms, you're going to be able to see Facebook generated this many leads on my website versus Google that didn't generate as many leads on my website. And where I talked about before with an unlimited budget, that's when you'll be able to start shifting more budgets towards the platforms that are working for you. And that all starts with setting up goals and analytics, and it's time consuming and you may not know exactly how to do it. That's, an agency like us would be able to help with that, or it's a simple Google search to try to figure it out for yourself. But the first step is always setting up those goals so that you can see how different audiences interact with your website and who's converting the most on the website.
And then once you have a good idea of, my target audience, the one that converts the most is female 28 to 35, those type of information. How do you translate that into actually marketing to them on the different platforms?
Yeah, so a lot of the platforms actually have different target audiences. Facebook is probably the best. It has the most data out there on individuals. In the world of privacy, Facebook is really starting to change. So they may not be the best in the next year or two, but for right now, they're the best when it comes to different targeting options, and it can get a little creepy sometimes, but anything that you do on Facebook, say on Facebook, like on Facebook, is used to target you. So if you are talking about a Maroon 5 concert that you're going to next week, people can use that and use the text that you're writing on your status to target you with different messaging. So Facebook is usually the best. And like I said before, when it comes to the business world, LinkedIn has really upped their game over the last couple of years. So if you're in the B2B sector and you're really trying to hit people with specific job titles, LinkedIn's probably the platform for you. And then lastly, you always have to mention Google. Google is kind of that one-stop shop where you can hit brand awareness to really anybody, but then you can really target down to people that are looking for outdoor furniture, if you'd like. And they base that just based off of search history, and they can kind of follow you with cookies as well. So you can kind of use that as targeting for the different platforms.
Yeah, they can also put you in different life events. So if you are preparing to get married or go to college, they can, put you in that bucket and then send specific ads to that.
Yeah, so based off of the websites that you're visiting, based off of your search history, they'll put you into those life event categories. Right now, YouTube is the only one that's using it, but Google is rolling it out here in the next couple of months, maybe a year, who knows. But yes, there are those life event categories that Google can use as well.
Yeah, so you've spoken about, pretty general target options that anyone that has dipped their toes into Facebook advertising or Google ads, they've probably seen some of those things. Yeah. Can you speak of any maybe that might surprise a business owner or marketing manager?
Sure, yeah. Facebook and Google actually both have this targeting option, but it's on Google it's called similar to audiences, and on Facebook it's called lookalike modeling. But pretty much what that is it targets an audience that you suggest. So I want to target 40 to 55-year-old women who have this job title and work in this location. But what the similar to or the lookalike does is it will find other people that are a little bit different from the targeting options that you inputted in, but it will find people almost like that. So that's hence the word lookalike. So it'll find people just like that, and that allows you, if you're a business and you have a very niche targeted audience, you would use a targeting option like that where you can multiply the 10,000 people that you were supposed to hit, but now you can multiply it to 100,000 because Google and Facebook are going to go out and find people that are almost like that, but not specifically like the ones that you chose. And we've seen a lot of really good success from that specific targeting option. So that's one that off the top of my head would be just unique.
Yeah, that's good. That's really helpful.
So I think another one that is really interesting, and YouTube has really come in the targeting game. They've come a long way in the last year. But one cool thing that they just added is something called custom intent, meaning Google owns YouTube, so YouTube is under the Google platform. They've actually combined forces now, and really what you're allowed to do is target people on YouTube watching YouTube videos based off of their search history on Google, which is really cool. So if you want to target a YouTube ad to somebody that's watching a YouTube video, you can put in specific keywords that they may have been typing on Google, and all of that data will come over to YouTube, and you'll be able to target people like that. And that's moving around to the different platforms that Google owns, but right now it's on YouTube, and it's been working really well for a lot of big advertisers and even small advertisers.
And that's probably really good to combine those, and so you start showing up on search whenever they are looking for those terms, and then when they go over to YouTube, you show them a visual ad that is really going to enhance that brand experience and hopefully connect with them.
And as we're talking about the marketing mix, and then if I can take you one step further, once they watch that YouTube video because they clicked on your search ad, you show them the YouTube video, and then anybody that watches your YouTube video, you show a display remarketing ad somewhere on the internet, Lancaster Online, AccuWeather. So that when we're talking about marketing mixes, that's really where it's at. So they saw your search ad, then they're on YouTube, you show them your YouTube ad, and then they're somewhere on the internet and you show them a display ad, all with the same messaging, all with the same branding, and that's where you're hitting people at multiple touch points. Hopefully they're coming back to the website and converting. I've seen a lot of good success from that.
So we've been talking a lot about, a lot of different options for a local business, a small business owner. How does this make a difference? We joked about having a unlimited budget for a business owner, but most small businesses, most local businesses don't have. They have limited resources, and they want to make sure that that's driving traffic, it's driving the right traffic, and that it's going to turn into leads and hopefully customers. So how do you make sure that you're getting the right results, and how do you measure that so you are confident in knowing that these customers came from a digital platform?
Sure. The best thing that you can do before you start any advertising whatsoever, traditional or digital, is make sure you have tracking in place. So I talked about Google Analytics tracking, goal tracking. Set all of that up before you spend $1 on any sort of advertising. And I'm talking about billboards, TV commercial, radio ads, but even Google ads, Facebook ads, YouTube ads. And really, from the traditional standpoint, I would start using UTM codes or vanity URLs. A vanity URL on a billboard would not be the actual website, but a different website, and then somebody types that in, and
a campaign-specific website.
And it will redirect to the actual website once they type that in. That's just one way of tracking your traditional media. I think the best way that a lot of people don't know about is there's this thing called call tracking, where you would actually use a different phone number on different pieces of media that you're advertising with. So if you're in a magazine, you would use a different phone number than the phone number you're putting on a billboard. And anybody that calls that phone number, is coming from that billboard or that magazine or that Google ad, so that you can really put a return on investment to those numbers and not just say, oh, well, that's for brand awareness. Hopefully we're getting business from that. So I would say my number one piece of advice would be set up all tracking and measuring opportunities before you spend $1 on any type of advertising that you're doing. And that can all be set up through Google Analytics.
You also mentioned UTM codes, and I think that's really important, because with UTM codes, it's just a little bit of text that you add to the end of your URL. It doesn't look any different for the user. They can still click on an ad in Facebook or on Google, but that can actually pinpoint not only the campaign, but even the specific ad that they used.
The keyword even. So off Google automatically does it because it's on the same platform as Google Analytics, but Facebook, LinkedIn, any website off of the Google platform, you should always use the UTM code for, because that will filter into analytics and it will start laying out what sort of campaigns you're currently running, again, down to the keyword if you'd like to go down that far, so that you can put the goals that are happening on your website and attribute them to those specific campaigns. And that can be really confusing to a business owner that doesn't understand UTMs or even goal tracking. So again, an agency would be super helpful for that, or again, a simple Google search would suffice probably.
So today we've been talking a lot about all the different advertising platforms for digital campaigns for a local business. It also seems as though there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of new aspects. How does a business owner, how does a marketing manager stay on top of all these different changes and making sure that their business is being found online, being found by the right audience, and that they're staying within their budget and getting a good return on their investment?
It's really, really difficult. In some, this sounds salesy, but in some cases, you hire somebody full-time to do your digital, because people here at this agency, we go to bed really smart and we wake up really stupid every single day, because the industry is changing so fast. So to put that on the CEO or anybody in the C-suite or even the marketing director, for them to keep up with everything, it's so hard. We have 23 people here currently that live and breathe this stuff, and it's changing constantly. And we always need to change the way that we do things because of how fast it's changing. So hire an agency or hire somebody full-time that can devote at least a portion of their job to keeping up with this stuff, because if you wait 6 months and you just continually do the thing that you've been doing over and over and over again for the last few years, you're going to be behind. And you don't want to be behind, because this is the best way, in our opinion, to get leads for your business on your website. So you always have to keep up to date with all of your online advertising initiatives.
It also seems as though the digital efforts, they're not something you can just set and forget, that it's something you have to continually monitor, obviously, so that you make sure that the ads are run in and that you're not, spending too much money on junk traffic. But also, it seems as though we want to measure and make sure that we're putting the right money behind the right ads.
Exactly. So you could, as a business owner, like you said, just put an unknown amount of money into a whole bunch of different platforms and call it a day. But then have you really done anything? Or are you really getting the truest return on investment that you can? We are in Google ad accounts every single day, 40 hours a week, just looking at the different trends that are happening, and we're always optimizing. 2 years ago even, it was more manual, where we're going in, we're changing bids. So Google has really started to automate the process of bidding and just the day-to-day stuff, but really what you need is a strategic thinker inside of these platforms. So I'm seeing these trends, what should we change because we're seeing the data that we're seeing? And really you need somebody like that on your team or in your agency to really help you with where your online advertising is going in the future. And the first place that starts is with that goal tracking setup to see which platforms are working best.
So if you're a business owner or a marketing manager and you are overwhelmed by all the different options we've talked about here, or you just feel like you need some help figuring out the best places to spend your money to see results, to actually drive traffic and to drive business to your local business, be sure to give us a call. We can be your strategic partner to help you make smarter decisions about your digital spend. If you have more questions or you want to learn more about these different platforms, feel free to visit our website, ydop.com, and read our blog. We have a ton of information on there. We'll see you next time.